beggars. Beggars in front of Tinubu's December 24th, 2022. Isn't this just crazy? Crazy! In front of Tinubu's house. And I'm driving. I'm not walking.
What's up, African family? Welcome back to the African Wahala. I just shared that video real quick. It's not related to the topic of the conversation today. What you guys just seen were impoverished people that were lining up in the house, in the front of the house of a politician, so they can get some money for Christmas. And that is how the Nigerian political system works. People are impoverished intentionally, and then those same people are bought off with money and gift items so they can select the same people that put them into poverty. It's a crazy infinite loop that we find ourselves in. But welcome to the African Wahala. On this platform, we talk about African social cultural issues, things that affect African people. We try to break down the reasons why we find ourselves at the bottom of the food chain. And today's conversation is about the United Kingdom extending an olive branch, so to say, to African people, offering them an opportunity to come work in the United Kingdom as a doctor. It's not the first time this is happening. According to an article that I read, countries like South Africa, Zimbabwe, Jamaica, Ghana, those are the few African countries, and Nigeria, most importantly, that will be beneficiaries of this scheme. Basically, you go to the United Kingdom, you are offered a pay of within 28 to 35,000 pounds, depending on your qualifications and depending on your location. So if you end up getting a job as a teacher in, let's say, London, England, which is one of the most expensive cities in England, I would imagine, you're probably going to get paid at the upper end, 35,000 pounds-ish. If you get a job somewhere else in the UK, your starting salary would be from about 28,000 euros. And also, in order to qualify for this scheme, according to the United Kingdom government, they have lowered the requirements, so you don't have to go through hell to qualify. And then it makes people like me wonder, why is stuff like this happening? You know, it's not the first time the United Kingdom will be coming around. I can speak from a Nigerian's perspective. It's not the first time they will be coming around to take away talent all the way to the UK and offer them lucrative opportunities. In the last 8 years, 5,600 Nigerian medical doctors have migrated to the UK to practice. In 2022 alone, there have been over 1,300 medical doctors that have migrated from Nigeria to the UK. And I'm going to talk about two factors that lead to this situation and the potential effects. I'm going to start off with the obvious economic benefits for the recipients. Anybody that ends up qualifying to become like a doctor or a teacher in this case, what are going to be your economic benefits? I mean, you're going to end up, I would assume 28,000 pounds is at the lower end of earnings in the UK. So you wouldn't be a rich person. You're probably going to be living from hand to mouth. You know, you would have a lot of complaints. If you are single, if you don't have a family, no wife, no kids, or if you're a woman, no husband, no kids, maybe you can manage. Maybe you can, get by day-to-day survival with that type of pay. And if you're someone that genuinely has an interest in taking care of kids, in teaching kids, maybe that will be beneficial for you. But if you're a family person, more than likely that money would not be enough because it sounds small, £28,000 in an expensive country like the UK. But what motivates people to take these routes to travel abroad? First and foremost, the socio-economic issues in their countries. Like in the case of Nigeria that I'm speaking for, we are going into another elections, general presidential elections, in about 8 weeks. And a lot of people are hopeful, hoping that something will change. But at the same time, a lot of people are completely hopeless. They believe strongly that nothing will change. We have tons of economic issues. We have insecurity issues. We have a lot of problems. Now, as a teacher in Nigeria, it's a tough job. Not the job description in itself, but the way society perceives teachers. The only teachers in the Nigerian society are those ones that work in expensive private schools and are able to get paid their salaries regularly, decent salaries. Maybe you get paid 80,000 naira per month, which is very small, in all honesty. But within the Nigerian economic system, it might be manageable. Well, I wouldn't even say manageable. It's small. 80,000 naira is small, no matter how you cut it. If you work in the other side as a public school teacher in Nigeria, you're going to have a harder time because now you're probably not going to get paid your full salary for the most part because the government is not able to meet up with its responsibilities. A lot of times you would have to settle for half salary. So if you get paid 50,000 naira as a public school teacher, now you're going to end up getting paid 25,000 naira for like 5 months of the year. The other 7 months of the year, you're getting paid your 50,000 naira. So your life is already difficult. Apart from the insecurity that is currently rampaging through the entire country, apart from the political instability and so many issues. So these factors would naturally make any right-thinking person that wants to survive to consider moving abroad. But at the same time, the United Kingdom is smart because what they are doing, first of all, let me send a shout out to the people in the comment section. Hello, Joseph Samuel. Nana Boakie, modern way of colonization. Take out the professional and keep ruling the country. I mean, and this is the other point that I was going into. So the United Kingdom being smart, what they are doing is they are trying to fill in the shortages in their population, in their workforce. Prior to 2022, the United Kingdom wouldn't have considered teachers from Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Jamaica. But right now, they are beginning to lower the requirements for teachers from these countries to get into the United Kingdom because they are desperate. And that was the same thing they did for doctors. Now, let me give you a quick statistics. In Nigeria, population of 200 and something million. It's all estimates because the last time Nigeria had a population count was in 2006, and that is 16 years ago, thereabout. And it was highly contested against. A lot of people had no trust in the population census that took place in 2006. So right now, when we say we are 200 million people, it's an estimate. Nobody really knows how many people are in Nigeria. Prior to 2006, the last population census was in 1991. And the population census back then was 90 million people. So 88 million people in 1991. 2006 population census, 140 something million people. So right now, a rough estimate, people are like, let's just say we are 200 million people. In 200 million people, we have 24,000 medical doctors. And I'm not talking about specialists. I'm not talking about urologists, uh, those guys that work on the heart, neurosurgeons. I'm not talking about those types of specialists. I'm talking about GPs, general practitioners. But out of the 20 something thousand that are currently practicing in the country, which puts Nigeria at an extremely low ratio of doctors to population, thousands of these people are currently trying to leave the country to a better country. For example, the UK. Now, the UK has incentivized that process. They've reduced the requirements, and it almost looks like a what's it called now? It's extremely attractive for the Nigerian people to move to countries like the UK for their practices. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't blame anybody that decides to take that move, because you're not going to stay in a country where you're not appreciated. You're not going to stay in a country where you're probably going to get killed at any time, and your family is not going to get justice. Like we saw a couple of days ago, another woman got killed by the police officers in Lagos. More than likely, there will not be justice for her. Apart from the fact that when you get to work, when you get to your place of work, you don't even get the best equipment that you can use to perform your duties. You often don't even have electricity. Imagine you're a surgeon, you're cutting someone open, trying to perform a delicate surgery, but then there is no electricity. Or right then and there in the middle of performing that surgery, the power cuts off. Then you have to use torchlight to continue with your surgery, because your hospital doesn't even have a backup generator. I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess for these people. A lot of times they have to protest. They have to go on tons of protests before they get paid. After a lot of them work for decades for federal and state government hospitals, they don't even get paid their pensions. They have to protest. It's just a mess. And these are the factors that encourage people to contribute to the brain drain, because at the end of the day, it's a severe brain drain situation that we're experiencing. If a 200 million population estimated has only 24,000 medical doctors, it's extremely low. Now, the 24,000 medical doctors that are left in the country are even forced to leave the country because it's a mess. And it's the same scenario analogy that you can extrapolate to the teachers' situation. You have 91,000 teachers. You have teachers currently trying to run away to the United Kingdom, and the United Kingdom has made it even easier for them. But I'm going to read you guys an experience of a medical doctor from Malawi. Sorry, a teacher from Malawi that emigrated to the United Kingdom some years ago to the same program that the UK is currently putting out there for some African countries. So this guy gets to the UK and he details what he went through as a teacher in the UK. Now, this is a social clash. It's a social situation that a lot of these teachers would have to deal with once they get to the United Kingdom as teachers. So my man here from Malawi, he says, being a teacher in the UK is a horrible experience. It's a taste of hell. I was a teacher in Zimbabwe. The guy is from Malawi. For over 10 years, he was a teacher. I loved my work. I remember assemblies where children would greet us in chorus. You know how we were raised in, most African schools, primary, secondary schools, the way we respect our teachers. That's what he's talking about. Our students would salute and greet us on the streets, showing us respect. A misbehaving pupil would hide and show remorse on being found out. The day I left for the UK, I was excited and convinced that I would make an impact as a teacher in the land of the Queen. The guy's name is Mofu from Luton. According to Mofu from Luton, teaching in the UK is no walk in the park. You know, if it wasn't for teaching, I probably wouldn't have traveled as much as I did. It was the teaching that got me around the world. But here in the UK, I got a rude awakening. I got a teaching job at a school in Luton, which was touted to be one of the best schools. I was grateful and overjoyed. On my first day in class, the children looked at me as if they were seeing a ghost. One child raised his finger and said to me, "You're an idiot." I was shocked. I was a teacher. I looked at the child and wanted to hit him, but I had been warned never to touch a child or I would die in prison. I pretended I had not heard the child. Then I heard another say, "Are you deaf?" I was so angry. I walked out to make a complaint to the teacher in charge. As I stepped out, the classroom broke into uncontrollable laughter. I hadn't been insulted by a child, and let alone a white one. I was so angry, I started shaking. I walked into the teacher in charge's office. He looked at me and said, "Go and control your class first." I walked back in the class, and everything that followed made me sick to my gut. I just had to leave the classroom as I did not trust myself not to take my typical teacher action against these wayward children. I went home. I got a call from the school which informed me that I had been fired because I had no confidence and skills of dealing with children. I then got another job as a teacher. This time, I was called a supply teacher, who is equivalent to a temporary teacher. The only difference is a supply teacher is a qualified teacher. I arrived at the school, this time determined to bring some order. As I walked into the classroom, I saw on the green board an offensive statement. It was a question: "What's the difference between a monkey and a black man?" Just below, it was an answer: "At least a monkey can climb trees." When I asked who wrote that in a very angry voice, the class remained silent. I turned to the board to rub the offending statement. When I was done, I turned to the class. I saw my bag fly out of the window. I got angry and shouted at the class. The head teacher and a few others rushed to the class. The pupils all rushed to one corner, and on seeing the headmaster, they started screaming. The headmaster, in front of the children, told me I was intimidating the kids and making the learning environment a war zone. I told him they had thrown my bag out of the window and had written racist remarks on the board. The teacher said he could see nothing on the board, and the kids shouted that they had thrown it out after I tried to hit them with it. I was asked to go home and reflect on my teaching skills. The classroom is controlled by children. You must do what they want you to do. You must not dictate to them. The head takes the word of the child against yours. Now I am working towards extracting myself from a career I was passionate about, and I ask myself why. Those who think teaching here, those who are thinking of teaching here must brace themselves for a torrid time. And then there are many other stories. I'm not going to keep on reading. So the truth is, it's not easy, man. It's not easy for you to transition into a new environment, and an environment where you can't discipline the kids like you are used to. It's going to be a problem for you if you try to do that. And you're probably going to lose your job. You might even end up in prison. So for those people that are ready to make that move, they have to be psychologically prepared for the challenges that are waiting for them, because those kids that are out there, they were raised different. They are spoiled for the most part. And you, coming from a different culture where people actually respect you, kids, it's not going to be the same way. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword, because you have a society that pushes you to want to look for greener pastures out there. But in looking for those greener pastures out there, you are contributing to the brain drain in your society. And most importantly, the people that will be receiving you, they're not going to treat you special. They're probably going to treat you worse than they treat regular people in their society. So this is the position that thousands of people find themselves in, caught up between a rock and a hard place. Crazy. But it is what it is, man. That's my rant today for the African Wahala. Just wanted to touch on the brain drain situation, that the impact of having skilled workers consistently emigrating out of different African countries, in this case, Nigeria. Like I said earlier, over 5,000 medical doctors have migrated to the United Kingdom in the last 8 years from Nigeria, a country that is extremely short of medical doctor supply, extremely short. But somehow, some way, these medical doctors are still enticed to move out of the country. And I don't blame them. I'm not going to blame you if you're trying to survive, especially when you're in a country that has consistently thrown you hardship. Then I can't even blame you for looking for greener pastures. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. But people have to do what people have to do. So thank you for watching the African Wahala. I appreciate you spending your time with me. Just wanted to touch on that real quick. And I'll be gone soon. Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrate Christmas. Compliments of the season.